Good morning and welcome back, Trinidad and Tobago. Well, the movie Crown Heights features Mr. Colin Warner, a Trinidadian who was wrongfully imprisoned. And we'd like to take you to the trial before we conduct this interview.
If you focus on your breathing, it'll bring you out of your mind and back into your body. Come on. Just know that you are not alone.
Crime today is an American epidemic.
There ain't no killer.
The system doesn't work for people who can't afford to defend themselves.
The whole neighborhood know what happened. The whole neighborhood know you grabbed the wrong guy.
I'm an innocent man.
I don't know you the way a mother should know her son.
Everyone's saying you did something. After a while, you start to question yourself.
I'll work for free if you take a look at his case.
How are we gonna afford this?
You want me to leave him?
They gonna keep me in here until I say I killed that man.
You know I would die before I do that.
We're gonna keep fighting for you.
You got your family, you got your life. Why are you still wasting your time on me?
It's not just about you. It's bigger than that.
If Colin Warner lived in Texas or Louisiana, he would have been executed long ago.
Longer sentences, more prisons.
They took everything from me.
More police.
Everything.
I can't just pretend this situation doesn't exist.
Well, this situation exists too.
The truth is going to come out. Can't leave an innocent man in jail.
I'm gonna take you home. It's just a matter of time.
Well, it definitely appears to be one of those movies that you can't just take your eyes off of. Joining us on set to tell us all about Crown Heights is the star himself, Mr. Colin Warner, who is the lead character. He was the guy who was actually wrongfully imprisoned. And also joining us on set, Mr. Carl King, his childhood friend. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
You just gave us a taste of something that we're just longing to see. What is this all about? What would you like to share with us?
Well, Crown Heights is a movie, independent movie, about my stay in Crown Heights 40 years ago in Brooklyn, New York. I would like everybody to, if they have a chance to go see it, because I believe it's a movie not only about me, but of our people. And it's a movie that took me 40 years after screaming and shouting to be heard. And finally, I'm getting a chance to let the public see a segment of our life that primarily is basically unheard of and unseen of. So I would like everybody to go see Crown Heights. I don't want to give too much about the movie, but the premise of the story is that I was unjustly incarcerated in Brooklyn, New York, for the crime of homicide, in which I never knew the victim, never participated in the murder, yet through whatever forces that may be at that time, I did 21 years. The movie is a testament of strength, unconditional love, support from family and friends, and basically a tool to use in moving forward. This is my friend next to me, Carl King, and you cannot tell Crown Heights without telling the story of Carl King too. So
Yes.
we are inseparable.
Yeah. Well, Mr. King, thank you so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having us.
As we talk about this story, what was your role in all of this?
Well, my role was being a friend, and being a friend meaning not in times of need, of good times only, but in time of need. So Colin was arrested in April of 1980. He was my childhood friend from Trinidad. We both attend an primary school in the Bellevue, D-Bay area. The school was Ascension, right? EC. So I knew Colin from the age of 5 years old. And I migrated to the US in the mid-70s, and Colin followed after. We end up in the same neighborhood. And as young guys coming out of Trinidad, we were used to being on the streets, hanging on the streets corner, you know, being free. But in Brooklyn, it was different. It was like a concrete jungle. So we had that kind of freeness of being on the corner. And at that time in Brooklyn, you know, which it still is today, racism, you know, was at the highest level. So at that time in 1980, like in the late 70s, we started growing locks, dreadlocks. So we'll be, you know, in the parks hanging out, and the cops would just, the white cops would just roll up and say, freeze, you know? And it would actually push us against the wall, you know, use racist, you know, remarks, you know, you niggers, this and that. So we weren't used to that, because in Trinidad and Tobago at that time when we left, the population, I think, was mostly of people of African descent, and then second, East Indians. So it was a culture shock coming to the US and experiencing that racism to the highest. So it played a part in Colin's situation. In 1980, Colin was arrested for murder, as he stated, without any direct evidence, just somebody saying that they saw him committed a crime. So at that time, it was a shocking, it was shocking news to me, because at that time when Colin was supposed to be committing the crime, 2 of my friends were with him at that time. So when he was arrested, he told them, well, listen, I have 2 alibis, which the police went, the detective went to the alibi's house. They came down and gave statements stating that they were with him at that time. To no avail, it didn't do anything for him as far as excluding him from being on the crime scene. So at that time, I thought there's, you know, grand jury proceedings, and there's a system in place which they would see that there was a mistake made. So we were just hoping that that would clear itself and it would never go where he would be convicted. Well, lo and behold, it went so fast and he was convicted. Tried, was 2 trials. The so-called, there was 1 eyewitness who was perjuring himself during trial. He was saying one thing and then saying the other. So we thought at that time Colin would have been cleared.
Yes.
But there was a mistrial which, you know, they had a next trial. And the second trial, Colin was convicted, and he did 21 years. So at that time, I know it was serious business, and I was 17 years at that time. Colin had just turned 18. So we were actually just trying to know ourselves as, you know, young adults. So it was really a lot of, you know, pressure as far as thinking that this could happen, which it did. So throughout the years, seeing Colin going through that changes as far as, you know, having a life sentence, which I can't imagine what a life sentence is like. Colin would more be able to describe it, but being a friend and participating and supporting him in every way, along with others in the community, as far as his wife and family. We went through a lot of trials as far as retaining attorneys who would just take our money and not do a good job as far as doing any research. And eventually we took it into our hands as far as trying to understand the system, to actually do something firsthand without any formal experience in legal studies.
Oh, 21 years, that's a long time. What sort of psychological impact that would have had on you?
Well, as Carl King was stating so frivolously, what he did was, and is doing, is incredible. Without this brother right here, I wouldn't be here sitting talking to you. I believe I don't really know if I could properly explain what it is to do 21 years incarcerated.
Knowing that you're innocent, huh?
Knowing that I'm innocent. Carl said he don't know what it feels like, but I believe Carl is the only person other than me who knows and feels what 21 years of incarceration feels like. Sometimes I feel like it's a miracle. While in a nightmare, the miracle happens, because each day of the 21 years, I never gave up hope. And I always felt that my time there would have been shorter than it was. But sometimes you don't have no control of certain segments of your life, because a lot of people tells me 21 years is a lifetime. And my response to that, in order for me to go forward, is yes, 21 years is a lifetime in human terms, but in the eyes of God, it may be a blink of an eye.
Yes.
So it's all about adjusting our reality to what it is and trying our best to do the best in a little bit of time that we have on the planet Earth, right? So the stealing of my 21 years, I hope this will be used as a guideline for the people that's coming after me, so it will not happen again. I do not see any progress in that area, but I'm still having faith. But this, my story and my tribulations in this life is brought forward to the people as a sign of, used as a guide in building stronger communities, because a lot of things that happen to us as a people, we as a community allow it to happen because we don't have that power and the strength to do something about it. But my fight with the state of New York, it can be used and seen as a tool to continue your fight, because you don't have to be in prison to be incarcerated. You can be incarcerated within your own home, within your own village. So whatever the movie you get from the movie, I hope will be positive, so that we can move forward both as a person, as a country, and as a nation, wherever we are.
So who decided to take this further and make it into a movie?
What happened when Colin came out of doing his sentence, when he was exonerated in 2001, on around 2004, we did a radio documentary with a program called This American Life. It's public radio. And that landed us a deal with Warner Brothers Studio. And we had two options for a movie with Warner Brothers. And the two options ran out. They didn't get any writer or, develop it. So a couple of years after, this independent producer and writer came to us and told us that he wanted to do the story. It was independent at that time. So we gave him the rights, and it was developed 2 years ago. And it was an independent film, and we went to Sundance Film Festival, and the film won the Audience Award. So Amazon bought it at that time. So Amazon brought it to the big studio, to the theaters.
And I understand it was premiered just last year, correct?
Yeah, it was premiered in New York and LA, and it was around the country. Yeah.
And where will it be showing here in Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh, that's at IMAX on the 29th, which is Friday, at 6 p.m.
Okay, and how long is it?
It's actually an hour and a half.
It's an hour and a half. Wonderful. Now, if there's one thing I'd like to talk a little bit about, I'm really happy that you mentioned that journey, as difficult as it may have been, you would like others to learn from it so that mistakes don't continue. Would you say that film does justice in terms of highlighting some of those challenges? You spoke about racism, you spoke about the law enforcement situation, the justice system. Do you think all those issues were adequately addressed in that film?
Well, all the issues cannot be addressed, but I believe enough was so we can start to think and do something about it.
Yes. We just have about 10 seconds left.
Yeah.
But I'd like to thank you.
Thank you so much.
So much for taking the time to
Thanks for
share that
having
story
us.
with us. I really wish we had more time. Hopefully we can do something in the future.
Thanks for having us.
It's a pleasure having you. Best of luck with this and continue to do what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been chatting with the stars themselves, Mr. Colin Warner and Mr. Cal King, doing their part to change society. We take a short break for the news. Stay tuned.